Let's take it slow. Where you go, I go too. And if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you. Let's take it slow. Who cares where we gotta be? You know you'll have a good time wherever you're with me. Let's take it slow. Ask me how we got here, 'cause you don't know how. You say we're taking on water, yeah, we're sinking now. You're looking all concerned, like we're gonna drown. But we both know how to swim, no worries, let's flow for now. Let's take it slow. Where you go, I go too. And if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you. Let's take it slow.
JSGC here, and we are here for another Manchester City transfer show episode where we're going to be speaking today about all things Ederson, because we've had huge developments about Ederson this week, including right at the start of the week with rumours saying that he was closing in on a move to Saudi Arabia, and then it was coming out that the move had stalled him. So are we back? I think so. I hope so. Apologies for the technical glitch there. My OBS decided that it didn't want to work anymore. Anyway, right. What's going on, guys? JSGC here. And we are here for another transfer show episode where we're going to be speaking all things Ederson today. Yeah, we've had some last week. Working. I've just restarted OBS. I think it just needed restarting. Hopefully that is all working and all of you guys can see me and hear me. So get into the chat if you can see me and make sure that it is working. Do apologise for that. Not too sure what OBS was doing there. There we go. Technical glitches. Got to love live streams. Rightio. Transfer show. Ederson. Let's just dive right in because, we're 6 minutes in now. So apologies for that. So Ederson, yeah, let's speak about him. So right at the beginning of the week, it was looking like he was going to be joining Al Ittihad over in Saudi Arabia. There were some rumours going round about him joining Al Nassr. That was in the previous week. That move stalled because they didn't want to pay any more than £25 million, and Manchester City wanted £50+ million, which is still the stance, as reported today by Fabrizio Romano. And Al Ittihad have decided that once Al Nassr had dropped out out of the race, that they wanted to have a crack at Ederson instead. And yet we've heard rumours about no talks have taken place between Al Ittihad and Ederson's camp. No talks have taken place between Al Ittihad and Manchester City. Nothing has been agreed, and Fabrizio Romano is reporting that Al Ittihad are now struggling to agree a deal for Ederson. So everything is kind of pointing towards Ederson is probably going to be staying at Manchester City, and it's all to do with the fee. And this is what I was speaking about in my video yesterday, when my transfer update, that we're looking at a situation here that's quite similar to João Cancelo. He prefers a move to Europe. Teams in Europe can't afford him. Teams in Saudi Arabia can afford Ederson. They're not paying the money, though, that Manchester City are looking for. But Ederson, the big difference that you've got between Ederson and João Cancelo is Ederson is keen on a move to Saudi Arabia, whereas João Cancelo isn't. There's the big difference between these two transfers, and we saw Ederson potentially upset a little bit of the apple cart yesterday with some rumours coming out with what Sam Lee had been reporting, and I didn't feel like I emphasised it enough in yesterday's video, because I've seen quite a few people in particular on Twitter having a real go at Sam Lee. Sam Lee's just reporting information that he's told, and obviously he'll have his own reliable sources close to the club and close to the players that will be telling him information that he's going to report on, because that is his job at the end of the day. So I don't blame Sam Lee for saying things and things happening. He's just telling information that he has received, and he believes that the fact is that Ederson wants to move away from Manchester City. He was happy to stay at Manchester City pre-away match against Tottenham Hotspur in the Premier League last season, and now he wants to leave Manchester City because he feels like Stefan Ortega is now the preferred goalkeeper. That fans had made some comments after Ortega made that brilliant save when Ederson picked up that injury in that away match against Spurs, that people were saying that he wouldn't have made that save, and he's obviously taken it very personally, that he feels like he doesn't want to be at the club anymore. And once he'd heard that Ortega had signed a new contract, has made up in his mind that he now no longer wants to be at Manchester City, and I'll speak in more detail about it. Go and watch yesterday's video after the stream if you haven't done so already. I go into a good near 10-minute detail about the transfer and things that have been mentioned, the things that have been said. So the only real development that we've had on this in the last 24 hours is Ederson's wife has come out on her Instagram story, because I posted on my Twitter, keep an eye on Ederson's Instagram story. Ederson's not said anything. He's let his wife do the talking. His wife said that it's fake rumours. Now, there's a little bit of a game being played here, I feel. We could look at it down different avenues, and I don't want to rule out any different avenues being explored about what's happening here. What it seems, I'd say the most logical explanation of what's happening here is a little game's being played, more than likely between Ederson's entourage, which would be his agent, and Al Ittihad, to try and force Manchester City to drop that price for Ederson, because if they don't drop that price, he isn't going to get his move to Saudi Arabia. He wants his move to Saudi Arabia. He's going to get a massive pay increase. I think they mentioned about him tripling his wage. He's on a whopping amount of money already at Man City, and they're on about tripling his wage. He's 30 years old, 2 years left on his contract. Would I blame him for wanting that move? Not one bit. Do I think Ederson's a brilliant goalkeeper? Yes. Do I think right now he's better than Stefan Ortega Moreno? I would say, if I was to compare the two overall as two goalkeepers, my summary is Ortega's a better shot stopper, whereas Ederson's much better with his distribution. And I think with Man City's style of play, I think Ederson's better suited to Manchester City than Ortega. However, I would like to keep both these goalkeepers because they're both world class. But we're looking at two world class goalkeepers here, who one of them's going to be left unhappy at not playing often enough. And with Ortega signing the contract, Ederson feels like he's the player that's going to be shunned out. He feels like Mr. Bad Guy. And I can kind of sympathise and empathise with Ederson in the stance that's happening amongst the Manchester City fans, because there is a huge split when it comes to Ederson and deciding, do people think that he is a world-class goalkeeper? And to me, in terms of his distribution, there is no goalkeeper out there that is better. And Ederson has improved his game. His shot stopping's got a lot better. I think my respect and everybody else's respect has gone up tenfold ever since Ederson's Champions League final performance against Inter Milan. So I'm not too sure where this criticism and things are coming about. I feel like there's a game being played and Ederson stopping just short of handing in a transfer request. Now, if Ederson wants to leave, that's fair enough. He wants to triple his wage in Saudi Arabia, it's fair enough as well. If Al Ittihad aren't wanting to pay the fee, though, then he's going to have to put up with it, like Bernardo Silva does. That's why I was comparing in yesterday's video, that he's just got to kind of put up with what is happening and as what is being said, because there's just no other way as a professional. That's the key word here, a professional football player. There's nothing else that you can do. If you've got a price tag and a club isn't willing to pay that price tag, if the club's not willing to negotiate, you're stuck. There's nothing you can do. Ask João Cancelo. He knows that all too well. And Ederson, I think, wants to be very careful about what is being said. I think Man City are probably pretty unhappy about this situation being so public for everybody. And I can't imagine that it would have gone down too well about these reports coming down in the Manchester City camp. In particular, because the one person I feel sorry for in all of this, it isn't Ederson, by the way. It's Stefan Ortega. Because I presume that he feels like he's good friends with his goalkeeping teammate. And apparently he's not. He feels like he's been shunned out. And if you're Ortega reading the rumours and reading the reports, how would you feel about that? And Ederson as well, how would he feel about it? Which is why I was saying yesterday, rather than Ederson's wife making a statement, would it not make more sense for Ederson to make a statement and say, absolute trash, absolute rubbish, isn't true, all fake news? Put some clarification on these rumours that are coming about. He doesn't have to clarify his future. He doesn't have to commit and say he's staying at Manchester City. It's private business. If he wants to leave, everybody's fine with that. It's all about how you go about things and making comments to reporters and things floating around, because there were rumours saying that Ederson had spoken to Fabrizio Romano to make sure that some very carefully worded tweets were being put out there to give the suggestion that he wants to leave. And I don't like all this journalism stuff coming about with transfers. It's a very modern way of doing things. It's not something I've really seen before, but to me it just it stinks of unprofessionalism. And I do hope that it is true. I really do, because if it is true, what is being said and what has happened and everything being made so public, I don't think Pep Guardiola is going to put up with that. If it is true, I can see Ederson being put on his bike and Manchester City looking for the sale. And that might just be what he's looking for, a quick, cheap sale. As Man City will say, we don't want any of that business. And Al Ittihad will come in and say, do you know what, we'll compromise a little bit, £30 million. There you go. We've given you £5 million more than Al Nassr. And Man City will say, we've got rid of a headache. But Ederson's a £50+ million goalkeeper. We know he's a £50 million plus goalkeeper. So Man City have got to manage this very carefully, and it's all a bit scruffy and messy. And I think if Ederson does want to leave, he needs to communicate it to Man City, which is why Pep Guardiola's asked for clarification from Ederson about what he wants to do. Now, for Man City, it's pretty simple and straightforward. We're going to hold out for as much money as possible. We'll take this game right up to transfer deadline day if we need to. We'll make sure that we have a replacement ready and lined up. We're not in a rush for a replacement because we're not going to be signing a new number one. So all the talks of the Diogo Costas and your Mike Maignons, etc., you can start thinking about that maybe in 12 months' time, because Man City are just going to be thinking about going for a good, solid second-choice goalkeeper to provide competitive competition for Stefan Ortega Moreno. That is the situation. If Ederson leaves, I will guarantee you 100% that is what will happen. Now, we're looking at just over a month left in the window. It doesn't look like Ederson's situation is going to be sorted out anytime soon, so it would probably make more sense for Man City to do that, because what we don't want to do is rush in and say, oh, we need a new first choice goalkeeper, let's go and put a bid in for this player, and we'll call them player A, let's go and put a bid in for player A, and I'm not too sure if they're right, and we've just wasted £40 million, and next summer we need to sell them for cheap or loan them out and bring a new goalkeeper in. Not how Man City do their transfers, and to me, it's not the correct way of going about it. If Ederson leaves and we want to identify a new first-choice goalkeeper, take your time in doing so, because I'm happy for a season to go with Ortega Moreno. And I know there's several of you guys out there who have said to me, not a fan of Ortega, he's not good enough to be Manchester City's number one. You've got to think long-term. He's signed a 12-month extension. He's not signed a new 5-year extension, which is him committing basically near enough the rest of his career at Manchester City. It's a 12-month extension, so Man City can extend this situation into next summer, assess again where we stand. We've got a clearer picture with what happens with the Premier League charges. We've got a clearer picture about where we stand with keeping hold or letting Pep Guardiola leave Manchester City. And we're also in a better situation to then understand which goalkeeper we need to identify and make a move for without rushing into things, because Man City don't rush in to transfers. You want it to be correct. And going for a second choice keeper, I think would make perfect sense. James Trafford, one name that's been chucked out there. Rumours are saying isn't true. City aren't going to be making a move. Is an option. Homegrown, not just English, but homegrown by the club as well. I'm not going to be silly enough to say I'm ruling that out completely. I think it's an option. I think there's other options out there that City could go down as well. I've heard Mandas over at Lazio. He's their second choice keeper. He's done a lot of minutes in the first team last season due to injury. He's a very good goalkeeper. Greek. I think he's 22, 23 years old. A massive stature on him. He's a brilliant goalkeeper. Good modern day goalkeeper as well. I think he'd provide brilliant competition for Ortega, and I've heard he's available for under £15 million, which makes him cheaper than James Trafford. James Trafford did struggle at Burnley last season in the Premier League. He doesn't have the best defence in front of him, so does he want to become a second choice keeper at Manchester City? I imagine he'll want to be first choice. He's struggling to make that happen at Burnley, by the way, so I'm wondering if Man City may just think, you know what, James Trafford's time at Man City, it's done and dusted for now. He needs to carry on getting regular first-team football, because that will suit him. And if he wants to move from Burnley, pursue a move elsewhere, not to Manchester City, to basically sit on the bench and be our new League Cup, FA Cup goalkeeper instead, which I don't think would serve the purpose. So there has been links of that Patterson over at Sunderland as well, good high-quality young goalkeeper in the Championship. So a couple of Championship goalkeepers knocking about. To me, Mandas would be my choice over at Lazio. I think he's a really good goalkeeper, a good solid goalkeeper, the kind of goalkeeper that if Ortega does decide to leave Man City next summer, you can continue to keep Mandas as your number 2 and go out and spend big money on a number 1 if we need to do so. That's where I would go with the goalkeeping situation. So that's pretty much the latest. Yeah, do leave your thoughts, guys, in the live chat. Don't forget, guys, do subscribe to my channel. We're now less than 200 subs away from 37,000 subscribers, which is absolutely brilliant. You can go check out my social media links too. They are on the yellow banner. So just want to say hello to a few of you guys. Stephen, thanks for tuning in. Mahmood, thanks for tuning in. Matt as well. Man City. Icky, thanks for tuning in. That's a brilliant name. Thanks for tuning in. Quain, thanks for tuning in. City Till I Die, thanks for tuning in. Afam, thanks for tuning in as well. Reality Hub, thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated. Raheem once more, thanks for tuning in. Adam, thanks for tuning in. Another Dimension, thanks for tuning in. Caden, thank you for tuning in as well, much appreciated. I like the sarcasm there when was crashing on the stream. CK, thanks for tuning in, much appreciated. Nadir, welcome back once more, much appreciated. Thank you for tuning in. Just make sure I've not missed anybody there. Shorto, thanks for tuning in. Dialogue as well, thank you for tuning in. If I haven't missed anybody, I do apologise. Just leave your thoughts there in the chat, and I will say hello to you guys. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. So that's goalkeeping situations done and dusted. Just reading through some of the comments there. Yeah, Bayern wanted Ortega last season. Clearly, he's good enough to be starting at a top club, is what Nadir says. Raheem, I did say hello to Raheem, didn't I? If I didn't, apologies, Raheem, much appreciated. Ismail, thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated. Man City Icky, I did say you because I said I love the name. Rightio then, guys. So, in terms of updates on the other players, it's very quiet. Players are still on holiday. I can't remember who sent the tweet out yesterday, but they were spot on. Man City are going to go after the kind of players who play regular international football, the creme de la creme, the very best. And they'll be going for the most successful players for the most successful teams, which means these good teams will have all reached quarter-finals, semi-finals and finals of their international tournaments, which means if them players have reached them, they're still on holiday, which means Man City's players, your Kyle Walkers, your Kevin De Bruyne's, Who else have we got? Your Bernardo Silvas, Julian Alvarez, all getting linked. In fact, Julian Alvarez is at the Olympics, so I'm not even sure we're going to see Julian Alvarez in a Manchester City shirt before the first international break in September, which is mental. So, yeah, the futures of these players just aren't going to get sorted until they've returned back to Manchester City. And that's not going to be for another week for some of the players that's gone out in the last 16 and the quarter-final stages of the international competitions, and the team that made the semi-final of the European Championships and the Copa America in the finals. We're not going to have these players available until right near the Community Shield when we take on Manchester United. So the futures of these players just aren't going to get sorted anytime soon. You can only sort out the futures of the players that we have currently got. Jan Couto, for example, still yet to agree a fee with Dortmund, but they are closing in. We can sort out the future of João Cancelo, but we've got no update. It's still very quiet on that, even though he's on holiday. We know that he wants to go to Barcelona, yet Barcelona are putting out bids for Dani Olmo instead. And has anyone seen that bid? That bid's pathetic. They've gone for, I think, no cash up front for a year, and then they're offering 10 million euros in 5 installments over the next 5 years, up to 2030, and then achievable add-ons, including Barcelona having to win 2 La Ligas by 2029 and 2 Champions Leagues by 2029. You'll be very surprised, I'm sure, guys, when I tell you that RB Leipzig have rejected that deal. So I don't think we're going to be getting a permanent offer for João Cancelo anytime soon. So I don't know what's going to happen with him. That still needs to be sorted. Kyle Walker on his holiday. Don't know what's going to happen. He was in court the other week. Was it last Monday he was in court? So I don't think we're going to see Kyle Walker for another couple of weeks or so. It just gets so late in the window that I think Man City will just end up sticking with what they've got. So I won't rule it out. Being a very quiet transfer window. Excuse me. So if that is the case, what would we be looking at? We're accumulating a lot of money for part-time players, for players that have either not featured for City, your Issa Kabores, your Jan Coutos. We're also going to be getting some player sales from fringe players, your Calvin Phillips, your João Cancelo. So we'll see what happens with them. By the time that's all been done and dusted, I think Man City will go and have a look at signing one player, and that one player has to be a player that can rotate with Rodri. It has to be a player that can play in that number 6, priority A, where we will want a player that can do both the number 6, number 8 role, if I'm being completely honest, which everything right now is pointing towards Bruno Guimaraes, and I think City will be looking for their net spend for trying to get that price up to maybe 80-90 million pounds in terms of player sales. Once they've got that in the guaranteed money in the bank, they'll then say, let's go make our move for Bruno G and go from there. So we'll see. It's a bit quiet. I find it a bit strange that we've not agreed personal terms with Bruno G, just to put a bit of pressure onto Newcastle, a bit like Al Ittihad have done with Ederson. We know that they've got an agreement already in place, a verbal agreement with the player, which then puts Manchester City under pressure to, if a player does want to leave, to try and make that sale happen. So we will see. H3K, thanks for tuning in. Orthodox as well, thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated. Thank you very much, Grazzy. Thanks for tuning in. So I know you've touched on him before regarding a possible transfer away from us, but how do I feel about the whole Alvarez saga? Do you think him being interested in leaving us is unreasonable? That is a brilliant question, Grazzy. Thank you for tuning in and asking that question. I think I'm pretty easy about the Alvarez situation. I feel sorry for him, if I'm being honest. He's a world-class striker. Because we don't play 2 strikers, he doesn't get played in his preferred position. He's not going to start ahead of Erling Haaland. He has to rely on Erling Haaland being injured for him to be able to start as Man City's striker. He's Argentina's striker. When Lionel Messi retires in the next, probably 2 to 4 years, Julian Alvarez will be the player that takes over the ropes up front for Argentina. He will want to be the main man, the goal scorer. He's a brilliant goal scorer, a very successful young player who knows how to win. He'd be a huge loss for Manchester City, but I can sympathise with him wanting more minutes to be playing as a striker. There's not many clubs out there that can afford Julian Alvarez, and Man City won't sell to another Premier League team, so your options are very limited. Now, if Real Madrid hadn't signed Kylian Mbappe, I think they may have made a move for Alvarez. Barcelona have got no cash. PSG, is that move for the best for him? I can picture Alvarez playing for a world-class European team and playing as their striker. Bayern Munich don't need a new striker. None of the Italian teams can afford Julian Alvarez. So where do you go? You're a little bit stuck. Atletico Madrid, they were getting linked with a move for him. I think that'd be a good move for him, but I don't think they've got the cash to do so, and Barcelona definitely don't have the cash. I think the only team that can afford him is Saudi Arabian teams, Premier League teams, and also PSG. PSG is probably the most likely out of them teams to make a move for Alvarez, but I don't see them doing that in this window, so I think he's a bit stuck, so I can see Alvarez staying at Manchester City, and I don't know what the solution is for Alvarez. I think if I was Man City, I would try and keep Alvarez for the next 12 months and just sit down and see how things go, because we do have the potential at some point that Erling Haaland may want to leave Manchester City. And I think in the next maybe 12 months or so, one of Alvarez or Haaland will leave the club. And right now, I'd say it's more likely that player will be Julian Alvarez. And if he does leave Manchester City, it'll be a very sad day because he's a brilliant, brilliant striker. And I'm just going to chuck this out there. If a team came in and offered real big money for Erling Haaland and he did want to leave Man City, because Erling Haaland doesn't tend to do more than 3 seasons at a club, is how his young career's progressed so far. If that is the case, then there's no one better I would rather have replacing Erling Haaland than Julian Alvarez. So I don't think he's prepared to wait either. So, a bit of a tricky situation, I think, that for Julian Alvarez. Him leaving being I don't think it's unreasonable. I think it's a fair request. I don't think the right terminology is he's looking for more minutes and more starts. I think he's looking for more minutes and more starts as a striker. He's not a central midfielder. I don't think he feels like you're getting the best out of him with him playing as a central midfielder. So, I don't think it makes any sense for Julian Alvarez to go down that route and just say, I'm happy to do what I was doing last season. I think, if anything, he's let Man City know that he is unhappy. He may have to stay for the next 12 months, but in 12 months' time, it's a long time in football. Anything can happen, so we will see. We'll see what happens from there. Jason, thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated. Trade João Cancelo for a truck of Ferrero Rocher. Ferrero Rocher are expensive. A truck full of Ferrero Rocher is probably worth a few £1,000,000. I like that, though. Thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated. Benjamin, thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated. Not a fan of Bruno G. Nam, thanks for tuning in. I think PSG is probably the most likely place that Alvarez could end up. Jason asked a real good question. Says, when do you expect to hear if Pep's staying or leaving? If you go off these latest comments that he's made it sound like he's going to be signing a new contract very soon. Now, all the reliable rumours have said if the extension does come, it's going to come at the same time it always comes, between November and January of the upcoming season. So normally when he gets to about 6 to 8 months left on his contract, he'll sign an extension. I can't see it being any more than 12 months. If we get more than a 12-month extension of Pep Guardiola, we've done very well. I can see Pep Guardiola maybe just holding back and waiting to see what happens with the 115 charges, because we're set to hear back from that in November time. So by December, January, it will become much clearer about if Man City have been found guilty, what punishments will be in place for City. I have always maintained that I don't see Pep Guardiola leaving Manchester City in the mud. Pep Guardiola will want to hand over the reins of the club, with the club in the best possible position, because that's how Pep Guardiola does things. He doesn't hand over with the club needing him to help them. If Man City are needing a bit of a rebuild and they're needing Pep Guardiola's help, I can see Pep Guardiola staying at Manchester City. Why wouldn't he stay? He's got everything that he needs at Manchester City. Gets paid a lot of money. I think he's the highest paid manager in the world. He's happy and settled in Manchester. He's enjoying his football. He's enjoying the club. The club love him. The fans love him. everything makes sense for Pep Guardiola to stay, but it's all about what he wants to do. And if City are found or get these charges cleared and they're found to be innocent, and Pep Guardiola feels that now's the right time for him to hand over, I can see it being next summer. So we will see what happens with that. Nadir says PSG going after Osimhen. If that is true, I mean, is Alvarez not around the same price? Surely Man City are a bit easier to negotiate with than Napoli as well. Here we are. Oh, man. Anyway, yeah, I don't think there's too much else to talk about. Chat's just saying latest on Bruno G. No real updates on Bruno Guimaraes. Still on holiday. That might warm up in the next week or so, though, once the Brazilian national players start to come back from their holiday. We are expecting in just over a week's time to unveil Savinho as a Manchester City player, which means if Savinho's back with Man City, then Bruno G will be back with Newcastle United, so things can start to hot up. That sounds like a nice saga for August, yeah, there we go. Nam says, update on Eze. Not happening, with James McAtee near enough confirmed to be a Manchester City player for the upcoming season, so we're not going to loan him out. Means we've got Phil Foden, Kevin De Bruyne and James McAtee as all options to play behind the striker. Grealish can play there. We've tried Alvarez there as well. Plenty of options for Manchester City, so we won't be making a move for Eberechi Eze from Crystal Palace, and the same stance again with Dani Olmo, unless we get a player sale of Julian Alvarez or a Kevin De Bruyne. I don't see that happening. Finally, Maxwell, thanks for tuning in, says, Kovacic, what's happening with that? Well, we've seen Kovacic over the last week getting linked with a move to Turkey once more. We'll see if that does end up materialising. I do have my doubts about it. Nunes, I can't see Mateus Nunes leaving this summer. I've not heard any word on Nunes being unhappy at Manchester City or wanting to leave. I'd probably say it's more likely for Kovacic to leave. I think there's more interest and more demand in him. It's all about if clubs are willing to pay the price. And at the moment, it's Fenerbahce that's been getting linked with making a move for Kovacic. Are they going to stump up the money to pay for him? I've heard that they were looking for a deal around £15 to £20 million, which is slightly less than what City paid Chelsea for Kovacic. But I don't think you'd find many suitable replacements for Kovacic or Nunes this late into the window. I think you'd just be better off sticking with what you've got and just adding a little bit of quality in midfield and assessing the situation again with Kyle Walker and Julian Alvarez and Ederson and seeing where they go and going from there, if I'm being completely honest. Don't rule out Man City maybe having a look at squad players as well. Sergio Gomez has left, so we are a little bit short when it comes to having options on that left-hand side. I feel like we're a Joško Gvardiol injury away from being reliant upon just Nathan Ake only. So I wonder if Man City may just want to try and shore that up on the left-hand side with another high-quality young player be brought in and used around the first-team squad. We will have to wait and see. So, yeah, there we go. That has been the transfer show with yours truly, JSGC. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I do want to go and film my transfer update, so I am going to cut it short there, guys. Lord, thanks for tuning in. Dialogue, thanks for tuning in. Ronald, thanks for tuning in as well. Much appreciated. I'll just quickly answer the questions that you guys have submitted in there. So James McAtee, do I think he's good enough? High quality player, needs to be around the first team. Give him a season around it and I can give you a better answer next summer. Bit of a cop-out answer that from me, apologies. Jason asked, do I plan on going on any of the panel shows this summer? Yeah, I've got no problem going on any of the panel shows. I only have to be invited for me to go on any of the panel shows. I'm always open to doing and exploring and doing new things and working with different content creators, including City content creators as well. Dialogue says, are we looking for a fullback whilst Kyle Walker's still here? I don't see that being the case. We might look on the left-hand side for a replacement for Sergio Gomez. We will have to see. Nadir says, Frimpong, Bruno could be our incomings. I think a lot of Frimpong relies on what happens with Kyle Walker. I think if Kyle Walker stays at City, I know Frimpong's not an out-and-out right back, so to speak. But I just feel like with Rico Lewis and Akanji already here, if Kyle Walker does leave defensively, we look pretty sound just defensively. You wanted someone to do the overlaps. We've not really got anybody. And Rico Lewis has been speaking more about playing in midfield. So I don't know what's happening there. Lord says, I feel like the squad's threadbare. It's very bare. I wouldn't rule out Man City promoting one or two of the academy players and keeping them around the City first team squad. I'm amazed that they're thinking about loaning out Callum Doyle, who's set to join Norwich City on loan once we get back from pre-season. I thought we may have contemplated using him around the first team squad just to ensure that you've got them options and makes good replacement for Sergio Gomez as well. Ronald says, am I going for holiday? Am I going on a holiday? Mine will be happening after the transfer window. Transfer window is going to be very busy for me. So right upon the transfer window ending and heading into the international break is when I'll be going on my own holiday. Anyway, yeah, thank you so much for everybody for tuning in. Much appreciated. Apologies for the technical issues at the beginning of the stream. I'll try and hopefully get that sorted so that won't be a repeat for you guys. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, leave a thumbs up. Do subscribe if you're new around here. Social media links, they're in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. And also don't forget as well to go and check out today's video sponsor, which is brought to you by SofaScore. You can find their links in the description, also in the live chat, or you can use the QR code on screen, where SofaScore are going to keep you guys up to date every single step of the way with all the latest football scores ahead of the new season. Anyone that does download SofaScore using my link in the description, in the live chat, or the QR code on screen does help to support the future content created here on my channel. SofaScore, very highly rated, free app to download, and will also keep you up to date with all the latest scores from all the sports that you guys love to follow, not just limited to football. So do go and check them out. Links and details, they are in the description. So I'm going to roll my promo video for you guys right now. And a big thank you once more to SofaScore for sponsoring episode number 8 of the Transfer Show with yours truly, JSGC. We will be back again next week for another episode for you guys to stay tuned for as things start to warm up and get really exciting in this transfer window. Ederson, what's going to happen with him? Kevin De Bruyne, Kyle Walker, Kovacic, Nunes, everybody else, what's happening? When are we going to get these player sales? When are we going to bring a player in and make a move for different players from the Premier League and from around the globe as well? We've got all the excitement covered here on the soap opera of the Transfer Show. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and I will see you again next week. TJ, thanks for tuning in. Gareth as well, much appreciated. Thank you for tuning in. I did manage to see your message, so a big shout out to your wife that's eating a dinner as well. And I'll see you all again real soon. So I've been JSGC. Justin as well, thanks for tuning in. I've finished up, I'm afraid, but don't you can just check out the stream, just rewind it back and rewatch it again. That'll be much appreciated. And I'll see you for my transfer update in around 60 minutes time. So I've been JSGC. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope everyone is safe and well. Have a great weekend. Peace. Ciao for now.